Hello, my friends. I'm Nick Lowry, host of the Comeback Journey podcast. For my entire life, I was trapped in a cycle of unhealthy relationships. Family, friends, lovers, all of it. Couple that with almost a decade of active drug and alcohol addiction, and that makes for quite a toxic combination. A few years ago, I decided to look inward, and what I found was that by healing, growing, and improving the relationship I have with myself, I was able to improve every other relationship in my life. It all started with me. My mission with this podcast is to empower you to cultivate healthy relationships, both with yourself and others, so you can experience a more meaningful and satisfying life. What's going on, my friends? Welcome back to the Comeback Journey. I have my friend Shauna here with me. Very excited for this podcast.
Hi.
About it for a little while, and I want to dive in. You want to give a little breakdown of like who you are, what you're about, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, definitely. My name is Shauna. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I'm really excited. I've never been on a podcast before, but I listened to all of them. So I am born and raised in San Diego. That's actually how I know you, Nick, just through mutual friends. And I've pretty much always lived in San Diego, but grew up here and didn't really go to college or anything. Kind of tried the college thing, didn't really think it was my thing, and started serving for a really long time. And that I got laid off from my serving job twice in 1 year because of COVID. So honestly, I'm trying all kinds of different new things. I am a wedding planner. I own a health and wellness business with Airbonne. I'm a bridal assistant. I work at a fitness studio, and I'm finally going back to school. So I'm like kind of getting my feet wet in everything that I kind of have wanted to try for a really long time, but being laid off from my serving job really pushed me in that direction. But yeah, that's just a little bit of background about me. I'm really trying to like find myself. So we're trying new things out.
That's the best way to do it, is just to try as
Yes.
many interest you as possible and then
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you grew up in San Diego. Do you have any siblings?
I'm an only child. Yeah.
Only child. Okay.
Yeah.
How was that growing up? Like, were you like the stereotypical, like, parents gave you all of their attention?
Yeah. Well, my parents are divorced. So they've been divorced since before I was a year old. So I don't really know what it's like to have them together. But they always got along growing up. And I was definitely the stereotypical only child. I was spoiled growing up. I will be very honest. But I was taught good morals and values, which is a good thing. It's definitely shaped who I am today. It's a big part of who I am. But I grew up with cousins, so I kind of had a little idea of what siblings were, but it was lonely growing up. I definitely wanted a brother or a sister when I was growing up, but I look back and I think, everything happens for a reason, so I'm fine. I'm fine without them.
That's fine. It's okay.
It's good. It's good. We're good.
So you said you initially tried the college path and that you decided that wasn't for you, but now you're going back.
Yeah. I got into SDSU right out of high school. I got into a couple colleges, one in Florida, one in Northern California, and SDSU just seemed like the best fit for me. Growing up, I always wanted to be an actress, which is so far from what I'm doing now. But I got into the performing arts program at SDSU, and I did that for about a year. No, exactly a year. I was there for 2 semesters, and I really got into the party scene and didn't keep my grades up. I was in a sorority and I wasn't even able to do any of the things because I was on academic probation and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was clueless. I was lost. I just wanted to drink and have fun. And when I realized that that doesn't work out and that your parents get mad that they're spending thousands of dollars for you to just party all the time, I was like, okay, I got to try a new path. I got to try and do something else with my life. So now I know what I want to do. I'm in weddings and events, and I've been in hospitality pretty much since I've had like a big girl job. And I'm going back for hospitality with an emphasis in meetings and events. Right now I'm at Mesa, but I'm planning on transferring back into SDSU. And it's such a difference when you actually know what you want to do and when it's something that you're passionate about. So I'm actually getting good grades this time.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Seems like, a lot of people that I know did something similar where like they went to school, it wasn't for them. They kind of lived a little bit and figured out who they were, what life is about, and then later on decided, okay, this is the path I want to go. This is something I'm passionate about, and I'm going to pursue that now that I have the clarity and awareness to direct me. And I think it's an important part of adulthood. I think, trying to learn and understand who you are, what you want, and why you're doing the things that you're doing. I think you might be frozen. Can you hear me? We'll give it a second. Well, my friends, Shauna's connection cut out. We'll give it a second, see if she can rejoin the meeting. There we go. Can you hear me? Your microphone is muted.
Thank you. I don't know what happened. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah, just like your face was like moving in slow motion for like a solid 30 seconds. And I was like, okay, we'll give it a second.
We're
So
back.
I don't know what you heard about what I was saying, but essentially I was just speaking about, that being a part of adulthood and growing into the person who you are is like figuring out what you want, where you want to go, and why you're doing the things that you're doing. And it seems like you've found yourself in that place where you know what you want and you're going to go after it.
Yeah. And I definitely think it takes a lot of growing up. I mean, I look back, I was 17 going into college, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And at that age, I thought that I knew what I wanted. And that's why went ahead and I went for it, because, all my friends were doing it and it was just like something that you did. It was just the norm. And I'm always saying, I don't think that anything doesn't happen for a reason. I think that everything does. But looking back, I wish I would have really known. My parents didn't go to college. Nobody in my family went to college, so I didn't really have a good idea. But I was so young, and now that I've grown up and kind of understand who I am and have come into myself a lot more, and now I feel like I have a purpose, and now I feel like I know what that is, or I'm at least a little bit more clear on what that is. And so school seems to just be a lot easier because it's something that I actually want to do and not something that I feel like I should do because all my peers are doing it.
That's a good distinction to make. Like, that's like the thing that I was speaking about, like the why behind what it is that you're doing. Like, are you doing it because society says you should do it and because that's what people do, or are you doing it because you actually want to do it? And it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't see the world that way. And it's not anyone's fault. Like, that's the way that the system is set up, is to like,
Yeah.
And something that I learned recently that I maybe knew at some point in my life but didn't really understand is that this concept of like working 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and like going to work, like that's only been around since the Industrial Revolution, and that's not that
Yeah.
long. And I think with all of the horrible things that have happened in the last year, as far as the pandemic and the lockdowns and all that, I think it showed a lot of people that there are alternate routes to take to fulfill their needs and to pursue what they want to pursue.
Yeah, I agree completely. And that's kind of where I'm at right now is I've never been able to hold an office job. I've held a couple of different office jobs, not saying that it's bad or it's something that isn't a good thing. But personally, I'm someone who always needs to be up and moving and have a different change of pace. And that's why I found myself in the hospitality industry. And now going into the field of health and wellness is because it's ever changing and growing. And my field always looks different every day that I'm in it. Every day that I do a wedding or coordinate a wedding, it's something different from the last. And like you were saying, it's new to human beings to sit down at a desk job from 9 to 5. It's not something that we were necessarily innately created to do, in my personal opinion. And I always felt bad. Like I feel like there has been a negative connotation on serving. It's like, well, when are you going to get a big girl job? And it's like, I make good money serving. I make good money in the hospitality industry. And just because I'm not sitting behind a desk all day long doesn't mean that I'm doing something wrong. It just means that I might be doing something a little bit differently.
Yeah, it's funny because it seems to me from my perspective that the people that hate on people in the service industry are people that like have a degree and make a solid salary, and you could be making $85,000 a year from your salaried position, and after
Mhm.
taxes and benefits and all that, like you're taking home maybe 4 to 5 thousand a month, and you can make that serving, working 30
Yeah.
hours instead of 50, and
Yep.
giving yourself time to pursue other things. So like where's the downside? And I struggle with that, like recognizing that for myself, because I currently work as a server, and sometimes
Mhm.
like I'm about to be 30 and I'm working as a server at a restaurant. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not anything to be ashamed of. It's just, it is what allows me to do other things like this podcast. Like, if I was working all day, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, I might be less likely to do something like this. And
Mhm.
it's, I don't know, the world is a funny place, but I'm glad that people are, becoming more aware of the fact that they don't have to do that to
Mhm.
live their life.
Mhm.
I
And
want
I feel
to,
like there's a new, I don't know, especially in San Diego where I'm at, I feel like there's a new like revolution in restauranting. Like there's so many new
if you could
restaurants
sit down.
coming out, um, and serving is becoming more of like a career path than just like something to do on the side. So what was that?
You the the connection cut out a little bit. Um, there we go. Okay, so I picked up some of what you were saying, but not the whole thing. So you said that you felt like in San Diego there's some sort of like revolution going on as far as like the hospitality industry and serving. Can you say that again?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. In San Diego and Southern California, and I just feel like there's kind of a revolution going on with the hospitality industry, and there's brand new restaurants popping up that are high-end restaurants, and people are, like you were saying, as servers making really good money. And so I feel like there's a shift in the mentality of it being a little bit more accepting to be a server.
Yeah, I'm glad for that, because there's people that work at restaurants their full lives, and they're okay with that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you're
Mhm.
happy, you're doing
No.
your thing, like you shouldn't have to worry about. Well, this is where it gets tricky, right? Because like you shouldn't have to worry about what other people are going to say about you, but at the same time, if you care what other people are saying about you in regard to your profession, that's a whole nother, like, that's your work to do. So it's interesting. that, and also really cool that you've noticed that type of thing happening. And
Hmm.
I think it's great. Um,
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole, like, the program that I'm going to be going into at SDSU is hospitality management, but then you can choose an emphasis. I mean, people are getting degrees in restauranting, you know what I mean? So um, there's just a lot of things changing and happening. And I think, like you said earlier, there's a whole different need for that are getting side jobs and side hustles and different things, that they want to do things so that they can work their life around their work their job around their life and not their life around their job, basically.
I like that. That's a good way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when you're going back to school to get this degree in hospitality management, are you still going to pursue this side thing you have going on with the health and wellness industry? Are you still going to be involved in the fitness studio that you're at, or are you planning on just doing that as a means to an end once you get the degree?
I mean, I'm so new to it all right now. I don't really know, honestly. I would love to. I really want to keep up with my health and wellness that I'm kind of diving into, just because I feel like that's something that is just good to have around no matter what, and to focus on, and just to be my healthiest self. I don't think I'll be working at the fitness studio. I think that's kind of just like an early morning side job. But my end goal is to really continue to pursue knowledge and growth in health and wellness, as well as weddings and events, because I feel like I'm multi-passionate, which I feel like a lot of people are. I don't just think that I'm going to be stuck with one thing for the rest of my life. I think there's a lot of different opportunities out there. And but those are the two that I'm definitely most passionate about right now.
That's awesome. I think it would be really cool if you could somehow integrate those two, because there are aspects of both that fit with the other. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool that you've recognized that, like, throughout the last however many years of you trying to find your way, you've now like you stumbled across it, and now you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is it, cool. And like you said, like maybe this isn't like your one passion in life, but it is one of your passions in life, and you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't go after that, at least for the time being.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really in a place in my life right now, where, not dangerously, but I'm kind of just like a why not kind of a person. I still live life pretty carefully, pretty normally, but I'm just like, I don't want to know what it's I don't want to say no to this opportunity and then to have missed out on something amazing. So why not give it a try? Why not try something new? You only live once. Like, if it's something that I feel like I could integrate into my schedule well and would benefit me and the people around me, why not? That's kind of my motto.
I like that, the why not life. Why not? That's like
Yeah.
the Have you seen that movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey?
Yes, I have.
That's that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Oh, that's
That's
funny.
a hilarious movie.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so let's say you you finish school, you start this career. Do you have any, is there any part of you that wants to leave San Diego ever, or are you planning on just staying there?
Um, I've definitely thought about that before. And if I had all the money in the world, and if money weren't really something that you had to think about, especially in Southern California and San Diego, I don't think that I would ever leave. But I also don't know, because I would love to be a homeowner. I would love to, have land. And not to say that I'm not setting my goals to the fact that, or as far as, I can't afford that in San Diego, but it's hard. It's really, really be open to moving different places. But if I had a completely disposable income, I would stay here forever. And who knows, it could get to that point. I don't know. But I'm going to work as hard as I can so that I can stay in San Diego, but I'm also open to other areas too.
Okay. So the thing I wanted to touch on, like you said, like when you were younger, you were very motivated by like the party scene, and that's kind of how like we met, was like partying together. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious to see, because it's been a while since we've talked, until recently, like we hadn't talked in years.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see like how you were able to exit that aspect of life and kind of focus on your own well-being. Like what was that transitional period like for you?
Yeah. I feel like I'm still kind of freshly coming out of it, because not necessarily, like there was a time when I was very, very deep in the party scene, detached from it. I kind of always wanted to try things that were healthier for myself. And I really just kind of separated myself from people. It was just kind of what I had to do. I just took myself out of certain social groups and forced myself to spend time with people that I wanted to be more like. Um, that notion where like you are the sum of the 5 people you spend your most time with, that really hit me. And I kind of sat back and thought, oh, well, I might need to switch some things around and really change up my social group and change up my goals. And that's kind of what I just forced myself to do, because I wanted more for myself than just partying all the time. So that was a really big step that I took. It was just kind of separating myself.
Yeah, I think that's massively important. And I think it's something that's overlooked. I think a lot of
Mhm.
people, that fact that like, well, these people have been my friends for a long time and I could still hang out with them on the weekends and it's not going to impede my own growth. And I don't believe that that's true. I think that,
Mhm.
people come and go from our lives at different times, and just because somebody's been in your life for a long time doesn't mean that they need to be there the whole time. And that was, I did a similar thing. Like when I stopped partying, like I had to cut a lot of people off. I changed my phone number. I blocked a bunch of people on social media, and it's a necessary aspect of growth. Like you have to release that weight in order to fly, you know?
Yeah.
And it's it's unfortunate that not everyone is able to grasp that concept, because the environment that you're in, whether that's, it's an all-encompassing thing, like where you work, where you live, who you live with, who you hang out with, what you do in your free time when you're alone, like all of those things combine together. And if you can optimize that to give yourself the best chance at living the life you want to live, why would you not do that?
Yeah, I agree completely. And it's not to say that it's not hard too, because like you said, these are people that you spend a lot of your time with day after day, year after year. And it's something that I feel like you just kind of hit a brick wall and you just realize, I'm not going anywhere where I'm at right now. And I do need to make a change. And making that change means letting some people go. And sometimes it ends not so well. And other times people really recognize that you're trying to grow yourself and respect that. But it's hard. It's a hard transition for sure.
I agree. Yeah, it's not easy to let go, like you said, like the people that have been in your life for a long time. Like it's hard to, even if it's in your best interest, it's still like you may miss them, and you might,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to fall back into that if you are not steadfast in your desire to improve your life.
Mm-hmm.
And
And I get, I still sometimes I'm like, I get FOMO. I see people going out and having their drinks and having what seems like a good time, but and I think sometimes it can be, but there's just some sort of emptiness that you're left with when you do things that really don't fill your cup up. And so it's a necessary, I don't want to say necessary evil, because I don't think it's evil, but I think it's something that's necessary. You just need to really shift and pivot and make sure that sometimes, even when you're lonely, that you know that you're doing the right thing and you're going in the right direction.
Hmm. I think that's a great reminder for people, even when you're lonely, because that's when it gets hard. That's
Yeah.
let's start reaching out to people, and you want to be like, hey, oh, you're going to the bar, let me come with, or like, let's go party. And it's easy to fall into that trap, but it does,
Right.
you, as you said, that sense of emptiness.
Hmm.
And if you are not selfish enough to first fill your own cup, you'll never be full.
Yeah.
And it's I think that's an important thing for people to understand, is that being selfish is not a bad thing. It's entirely necessary if you
Right.
want to live the life that you want to live. You
Right.
can't constantly be doing things for other people, or giving your power away, or going along with things that you don't want to do purely for the sake of fitting in, or for FOMO, or whatever it may be. You have to, you know, you have to have the clarity to understand, okay, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And I think, to add on to that, a necessary aspect of figuring out where you want to be is to eliminate the places that you don't want to be. And you don't really know
Hmm.
that until you experience them. And so going through that process of like, okay, I did that, not really for me. I did that, also not for me. And then, you kind of slowly close the barriers until you find your lane. And
Yeah.
once you find your lane, it's much easier to see where you're going.
Hmm. Absolutely. And it definitely took me a lot of figuring out and pivoting and shifting and moving it from, say, a social group that wasn't really serving me to another social group who I thought might. And then I had to separate myself from those people because I was really, like I said, for a long time, kind of lost, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, didn't know who I was or what my purpose was. And of course, I think that's a lifelong journey. You really are always trying to figure that out as you're growing and changing. But honestly, separating myself completely and trying to figure out who I am as an individual rather than being defined by the people that I'm surrounded with was the first major step. And like I was saying, it does get lonely. It gets lonely sometimes. And you think, well, I want to be out hanging out with this person or in this group or going to this party. But at the end of the day, if you're constantly flooded with other people's opinions and what other people want to do and doing things that, aren't on your accord and you're kind of just surrounding yourself and going with the flow, you never have that chance to really think for yourself. And that's definitely something that changed my outlook a lot.
Mm. That's a that's an amazing point of view to have. And like you said, hopping from one group then to another group, and there's there's some benefit to that, because
Mm-hmm.
throughout that process, in addition to figuring out, like I mentioned before, like, understanding where you don't want to be, to find where you want to be, that applies to people as well. And there may be an aspect of a person that really resonates with you, but it's just a small portion of who they are, and the rest of it is not really for you. And so you find yourself distancing from that person, but then every once in a while you're like, oh, but this one time, like, they were there for me. And
Yeah.
so it's tricky to navigate that stuff. But it's I think that to just have a solid tool set of understanding how to communicate what you want and what you need and what you don't want, and having the self-awareness to understand your own goals, and being able to set boundaries, and recognizing that your path is not anyone else's path, and that
Mm-hmm.
when you decide to go all in on yourself, things will be left behind. You have no choice but to let things go, because, like we said earlier, like, releasing that weight, it's the feeling of that, of not
Hmm.
carrying around the weight of people's judgments or people in general, or, what my friends are going to think of me or what my family is going to think of me. Like when you're able to release that, game changer,
Hmm.
absolute
Yeah.
game changer.
Yeah. And you said something in there, setting boundaries. That's huge. You don't, and what does that even mean to a lot of people? You don't even really know your boundaries until you start setting them and start saying, you know what, you stop boxing yourself into like, okay, well, I'm Shauna the partier. I go to parties and I drink. Well, that was me for a while, but I set my boundary and I said that's not who I am anymore. And you can decide that for yourself in anything that you do. So that's really important to just be able to really not box yourself in and not say, well, this is who I've been my entire life, so this is just who I am. It doesn't have to be. You do have the option to change, and really realizing that is huge and pivotal.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Like just because it's how it's been does not mean it's how it has to be. And I think for
Hmm.
someone who doesn't fully understand like what boundaries are, or like being able to interpret it in the way that we're speaking about it, a great way that I like to explain it is, a lot of people think of, well, at least in my experience, coming from like having no boundaries and then being like super forceful with them, it was like I had a wide
Hmm.
front lawn, and then like my house is me. And then once I put in boundaries, it was like a 20-foot brick wall all the way around my house where nobody can.
Hmm.
I'm not getting out. Like I'm just completely closed off. And those are like the two extremes, where you have nothing, or you have no boundaries, or you have all of the boundaries and nobody can break through them.
Yeah.
But to find the middle ground, the way I like to think of it is like if you build a fence around your house, and maybe
Hmm.
you want some additional protection. And so like you put a little barbed wire on the top of the fence just to keep out the riffraff. But
Yeah.
there's also a gate, and you can
Yeah.
open the gate to allow parts of yourself out, or to allow other people in at your discretion. And that gate has a lock.
Hmm.
So if you lock the gate and you got the barbed wire and you got the fence going around, nothing's going to touch you. But you have the power to unlock that gate and to open the gate if the situation calls for it. And that's the way
Yeah.
I like to think about boundaries, in a sense where like it's like a visual mental representation of what it entails.
Yeah. I would agree with every single thing you just said. And it's honestly shockingly easy to go from completely open front yard, no boundaries whatsoever, all the way to the other extreme. I think the hard part is finding that middle ground. Especially if you have no boundaries, and so does any, I mean, I've been through my own share of hurt and stuff in life that's not fun, we all have. And it's really easy to go, okay, well, if I have no boundaries whatsoever, then I might need to go all the way over to the other extreme and just build that brick wall so no one can get in, no one can hurt me again.
Mm.
And it's hard to backtrack from that when you go from one extreme to the other. But finding that
We're gonna have to have.
ground and really understanding what serves you, which again is sounds selfish, but it's not necessarily when you're really trying to find yourself. It's necessary to find that middle ground, but sometimes can be really hard, so it takes a lot of searching and a lot of finding yourself. So
Mm. I agree.
what'd you say?
I caught most of that. You were like, it was like slow motion for a minute. Um, but I think I caught most of it. So if anyone listening to this, if it was hard to understand, I believe what you said was it's really easy to go from like one extreme to the other, like having no boundaries to having all of the boundaries. But the difficult part is finding that middle ground and understanding what works for you, what doesn't, and being able to judge each situation accordingly and to make the best possible decision based on the information at hand and your experiences previous in life. Oh, she cut right out. I'm gonna keep going because she'll pop back in. Um, Understanding how to make the best possible decision based on the experiences that you've had, the information available, and what it is you hope to happen, even though you can't really control outcomes and you can't control what comes up and when it comes up, but you can do your best with the information you have and the experiences that you've had to judge accordingly. Okay, let's see if Shauna's going to be able to come back in here. Let's see here. The reason she was in her car, which her and I were talking about before this started recording, was because she's got 2 cats and a rabbit, and they were going wild, like not respecting personal space at all, as animals will do. And so she was like, "I'm just gonna go sit in my car." Oh, she just texted me. Her phone froze. Sorry for the tech issues. No worries. Let's see. Let's see if she can get back in. I'm always curious about like when there are technical difficulties, do I cut these parts out or do I just roll with it? I think I'm going to roll with it. It's a learning process. And not everybody has, everybody's going to experience technical difficulties. It ain't no thing. So if she can get back in, great. If not, then I might put this out as a blooper just for fun. I'm going to put it out anyways, but maybe we can do round 2 with Shauna on a later date and combine them. That might be the move. This would be like part 1 and that'll be part 2, but connect them into the same podcast. That might be the move. Let's see here. I'm going to call her live on the podcast. Let's see what's going on. Let's see. Hi, I'm so sorry. That's okay. So I have an idea. So here's my idea. Okay, so I have this recording. I'm still going. This is going to be on the podcast, this phone call. I'm still doing the podcast. So what I'm thinking is like, if you're not able to get back on right now because of the technical difficulties, we can just like finish the podcast, like part 2, like in the next few days. And then I can just combine them, like the audio and video files, and then just release it as one podcast. Oh, you're in. Let's see. Here we go. Where are we at? Boom. Okay. Let me just. There we go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Man, I'm so sorry. This is me. I feel like I'm 87 years old with technology. I'm like, how does this work?
You know what's funny? I like 2 weeks ago, my mom does like a Friday happy hour with her friends, and then like once a month, like her group of good friends will do like a bingo or bunko night. I don't know if you know what bunko is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is, but I've definitely heard of it.
Okay. My grandma, who lives in Illinois, wanted to like they were going to do bingo, and my grandma loves bingo, and so she wanted to like hop on this Zoom call, and so I had a Zoom call with my mom and my grandma to try to explain to my grandma how to use Zoom in the meeting, and it was hilarious. I was like, I can see both of you at the same time. It was the greatest thing ever. I wish I would have recorded it because it was pure gold.
That is amazing. And I honestly feel like that's how I am. Like, I never went on Zoom pre-quarantine. And now that I'm back in school and I'm doing Arbonne, my health and wellness business, and I have meetings all the time for my wedding planning, I am on Zoom all the time. And it's been a year and I'm like, I still can't figure it out. I'm like, it's gotta be user error. It is, but
It's honestly like Zoom's pretty user friendly. So like if it's got to be error. The only way to
thank you
describe.
for your patience. Everyone is always very patient with me when I'm doing this. And I'm just like, I don't know how. I'd be like, okay, girl, get it together.
Yeah, it's okay. I've done like the same thing. Like when I was living at my mom's house, I would sometimes like walk to the park, like the San Carlos Rec Center, you know what I'm
Yep.
talking about. I would like walk down there to like record podcasts with like me being on somebody else's podcast.
Yeah.
And or like to do like an Instagram live or something and like the video cutting out and like, so I get it. Like it's just a part of, it just comes with the territory, you know, like
Yeah.
technology is not flawless and neither are people. So there's bound to be.
Very true. Very true.
Okay, so there was something else I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. I had it in my head a little bit ago. Oh, okay. So you were doing this, you are doing this health and wellness thing. Can you dive into that a little bit? Just
Yeah.
for people who listen to this so they know like what you do and if they're interested, like how they can, you know, how it all works. Because I hopped on a Zoom call when you and your friends like explained everything and it was really interesting. So
Yeah.
might as well do it on here too.
Sure. So this is something that really kind of just fell in my lap. And I feel like it's kind of becoming a little bit of a trend, which is, there's a bunch of different kinds of health and wellness companies that people are able to join and kind of like start a little side hustle with. And that's what I'm doing with Arbonne. We're an online holistic health and wellness company. So we are a 40-year-old company that started as a skincare company, and we moved into nutrition and makeup and all kinds of stuff. And we are completely plant-based, gluten-free, dairy-free, very, conscious of all those things. We have big sustainability goals. And basically, I am an independent consultant, which means that I have a website and I'm able to kind of consult people on what they may need if they're looking for anything to kind of better their health and wellness. We have like nutritional programs and all kinds of stuff. So I joined this in August. A friend of mine, Haley, who I have been friends with for years and years, but it was just kind of that social media friendship where you don't really ever hang out. You just like each other's posts for a decade, which was kind of how our relationship was. And I saw she had a baby, and she just had an incredible transformation with this nutritional program after she had her baby, and not only physically, but emotionally and mentally. And she just seemed like she was thriving. And so I was having a lot of health issues that weren't major, but definitely I just feel like your body changes as you get into your later 20s and you're kind of like figuring out how to adjust your diet to help yourself a little bit more. And this kind of seemed like it had a lot of easy buttons, and it was just a program that you could kind of jump right into and not have to do a lot of preparation for it. And so that was something I was just ready for. And I reached out to her about it and was not planning whatsoever to really become a consultant and make like a little side business out of it. But the more and more I looked into it, the more and more I realized it really lined up with my ideals and my values. And it's something that I completely stand behind. And I just choose to share it with others because it really changed a lot in my life, and really kind of was the catalyst to diving into reading personal growth and personal development books and being a part of a community that's bigger than myself. So it's really pushed me into health in all aspects of my life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see people who like start to take their own personal well-being like into their own hand. Everyone has control over it.
Yeah.
Whether you want to believe it or not. And
right.
you just kind of, it just fell into your lap.
Yeah.
And And now it's something that both benefits you in the aspect of improving your overall quality of life, but it's also providing you like a side business.
Yeah.
So it just seems like a win all across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is, and that's how I see it. And that's why I choose to kind of talk about it and share it with other people, because it was not something that I ever thought I would be a part of, I would be interested in. And the more and more I learned about it, the more and more people really taught me about it and welcomed me in, is when I realized that it was something that I'm really passionate about. And so it's been amazing, because it's helped me really, like you said, all across the board in all aspects. And what I started, what I really joined it for was for my own personal health. And now it's shifted me into helping others with their own health too. So it's become something that's much greater than myself. It's become a vehicle for me to reach out and connect with people like you and like a few other people that I've reconnected with. Where I really like didn't have an excuse to before that. I would like someone's picture and feel like that was good enough to connect with them for the year. But now I reach out and I have conversations about health, and I have conversations about, personal growth and development, and what my friends are up to these days. And it's been a great experience, and I'm excited to see what comes in the future.
That's amazing. It's so cool that you have all these different things going on in your life that are all like pushing you up,
Yeah.
living your best life, like
Yeah.
that. When I see like the emoji, like with the hand out, it's like, it's either like I'm living my best life or like hair flip, fuck the haters. Both
Yeah.
of them are like the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Simultaneously.
that's amazing. That's so cool. Oh, what's up, kitty cat?
That's what I mean.
The rascals. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's been a really great experience. And like you said, like it's honestly something, so it fell into my lap right before I got laid off the second time from my serving job. And I just felt like the universe, God, whatever, was really like, look, this is an opportunity to start you off on a new path, because serving, and the service industry has just been so up and down this past year that I really, because I started taking hold of my health and wellness, really it's pushed me into being healthy in all aspects of my life and really striving to achieve things that I never would have pushed myself to do before. So yeah, I have 4 jobs and I'm going to school currently right now. So, but I've figured out how to get it all in one day and really figured out a good system for myself. So I'm really, really loving life to the fullest right now.
That's amazing. You can see it. Like you're smiling, you're like excited, you're talking about it. Like it's so incredible to see when people are just like thriving, and you can tell that they're thriving,
Yeah, you wear it, you wear yourself a little differently, you kind of stand up a little taller, you smile a lot more, you're more engaged in conversation. I definitely recognize that in myself, which is pretty huge. And I recognize that in other people. I recognize that in you. You seem like you're doing amazing and really growing and doing awesome things and moving on up. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's really awesome to see people in my life that I've known for a really long time shift and change and really take initiative to grow, because some people don't. Some people never do. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, I think that's a solid place to end it. That was a nice little end to this amazing conversation. I definitely want to do this again, sometime in the future. We can catch up once you've made a little more progress in school and I figured out the directions that you're going to go and all that good stuff. So thank you for coming on here and speaking with me and having this amazing conversation. And we will talk soon. If anyone wants to find you on social media, if they're interested in your life in general, or if they want to hear more about Airbonne or whatever it may be, where can they find you?
Yeah, I am on social media all the time just because I think it's super fun. But it's my Instagram is Hi Shauna, so HISHAUNA. People think it's Hishana for some reason. It's Hi Shauna, and that's how you can find me. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Nick.
This concludes another episode of the Comeback Journey podcast. I am incredibly passionate about delivering these messages to a much larger audience, but I can't do that without your help. If today's episode resonated with you, it would mean the world to me if you shared it. Whether that's sending the episode to a friend who needs to hear it, or by taking a screenshot and letting me know what your favorite part was by tagging the Comeback Journey on your Instagram or Facebook story. Instagram is @_the Comeback Journey. Facebook is simply the Comeback Journey. I reply to each and every one of you who spreads the word and supports what this brand represents. Thank you, and I'll see you all next time.